So for like the past week or so, I've had everyone I know, I feel like everyone I know that I've ever met, ask me my opinion on the whole new trailer for the new movie adaptation of The Crow. And my first reaction was, "Oh God, no! Don't do this." You know. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, because I'm such a huge Crow fan, and it's funny because like a lot of people are online right now doing their Crow talk and they're wearing their makeup and they're doing all that. I'm not that guy. I think I painted my face like the Crow once for a Halloween party. Um, I go before I'm a I'm a fan, very big fan. The comic book very much hit me hard in the wake of my brother's death in '93, and then the movie followed it right after. I hadn't read the comic originally. I didn't read it until after my brother died because he was the one telling me to check it out, and I just wasn't interested. And like in '89, it was coming out. I would have been 14 and totally enwrapped in Batman fever. And then after my brother passed away, I had to go through his stuff, and I went through his comics and found the Crow comics and read them finally, and was just blown away. And that movie following it a few months later, and on Friday the 13th, actually, May Friday the 13th, 1994, and that soundtrack and that score, and then discovering the Trust Obey music from the original comic, all that was really, really, really hit me hard, and it had an effect on me. This was pre like the whole world embracing goth culture and all that, and it wasn't something that I was really into. I didn't wear all black and put on black makeup and dye my hair black. It just wasn't who I was going to be. But something about the Crow just really, really, really affected me. The comic book, the story, the movie, all of it, the music, everything involved, and I really, really fell in love with it. And then I really got in more into the culture. I was already a comic collector, so that really helped too, because I was reading comics and collecting comics. So where I'm going to go with this is like, The Crow was a book first, and I got some things here to show you. The Crow was a book first. It was a very dog-eared, well-loved version of the original comic book, The Crow. Still in print too, which is great. The cover's different now. There's even an expanded edition with some additional pages that weren't in it originally. But it's pretty brutal stuff. Pretty heartbreaking, pretty brutal. And it's amazing. And this is what we all think The Crow should look like. Those of us who loved the original comic book and adored the film from Alex Proyas starring Brandon Lee. And then there was, being a comic book fan, I was so excited when 2 years later there was a new movie coming out, which I was excited about for sure. Soundtrack was killer too. And I really wanted it to be great. And there were follow-up comics. And then the movie came out. And it was, looked great, sounded great. The cast was great. The movie fell apart. As did the other two sequels, more or less. Although I always tell everybody Salvation's not as bad as you think it would be. And out of the sequels, it's the best of them. And then we go flash forward, because we'll stay there with The Crow in the '90s, and I want to bring up something called target audiences. And when they're making a movie, you're trying to target it at an audience. When you're making a book, whether you realize it or not, you're targeting it at an audience. And you yourself should be the first audience: the writer, the producer, the creator, the artist who's making it. You target at yourself first, and you hope an audience likes it. People like you, people like-minded, and maybe it goes even broader. So you had The Crow, The City of Angels, Salvation, Wicked Prayer, and people are freaking out. I'm not even going to talk about the attempts to make a remake. Let's talk about the target audience of the original show. Prove that they didn't want more Eric, because there was a TV show that failed that had Eric in it, the Eric Draven character. And that same year, I think it was '98, there was also another comic book from Image Comics that featured the Eric character, a retelling of it, and it didn't do well either. People weren't interested in that. The fans of The Crow, the people that were actually reading these comics and into it, wanted different stories. And that was the target audience. That's what we wanted. And then I think about what they could be doing now with the movie. And my first reaction was, why does it have to be Eric and Shelley? Because the trailer physically looks cool. The action looks cool. I see that it seems like they're leaning really heavy into the supernatural element of it, which wasn't really part of the comic book originally. That kind of got deeper as the comics went on, with different people becoming the Crow and things like that. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, why does it have to be Eric and Shelley? Why couldn't they just come up with two new characters, like was done in Salvation, or like was done in several of the comics? Or why couldn't they just go back to the comics and do an adaptation of some of those other comics, which I'm going to show you. If you haven't read these comics, I'm bringing them up to show you that these are the ones you need to check out, in my opinion. Flesh and Blood. I'm not going to tell you anything about them. I'm just going to tell you the titles. And these you can find these on eBay. You can find them on Amazon, probably in used bookstores and bookstores as well. Some of them are out of print, I know, but Flesh and Blood, 96. Wild Justice was 96 or 97. You can probably even find these issues in like dollar bins, the individual issues. And then it was a big break in comics until like the 2010s, like after the 90s, and they came back out, and O'Barr even chipped in again, which was great. And these two would also had made great movies. This were the other two. Skinning of the Wolves. This one's a really cool story. Something very different too from the normal Crow mythos. I won't get into it. I'll let you read it. And then I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but Curer. This one really cool, almost more of a detective story. Very different take on the Crow. The Crow's actually a child in this one. Does some very interesting things that really O'Barr was involved in that one again. Very like just cool effect. Cool different thing I could do with a movie. But that leads me back to 30 years removed from the original film. You know, this new movie was made last year. The original film was made in 93. The first film came out in 94. This one's coming out in 2024, 30 years later. And that brings me back to target audiences. All of us who grew up, went through our teens and 20s, I'll say, as Crow fans, we are not the target audience for this movie. You know, like when you go back and adapt a book, not every time a book is being adapted, they're not always calling it a reboot. You know, there's a new movie of Little Women like 5 years ago, I think. No one called it a reboot of the 90s one, or the 80s one, or the 70s one. You know, every time there's a new Tom Sawyer film or Huckleberry Finn film, nobody calls it a reboot of or a remake of. It's just a new adaptation of the book. And if we take a breath and let our frustration go, because it's not Brandon Lee, and the makeup looks different, and he's got a really bad haircut. You know, my first reaction actually when I saw it was, holy cow, it's Machine Gun Crowy, and that's not my thing. But that's not my thing as an almost 50-year-old man who loved The Crow, still loves The Crow, but fell in love with The Crow 30-something years ago. This movie's aimed at people who were the same age I was when that movie came out. That is our target audience for this film. As a guy who makes movies, I understand that. You know, like, I'm not going to make Animal Behavior, which is a family-friendly web series, and aim it at 70-year-old people and have it be about retirement communities. You know, I mean, it could do that. That actually could be a cool take, but I'm aiming this at kids and families who want to watch it together. Risley Brothers was another show we did, which was like more aimed at 20s and 30s, people in their 20s and 30s. And I can't imagine, you know, trying to twist that for a different generation 30 years from now, and what that would be like at people in their 30s now, because I can't relate to that, you know, or in their 20s then, you know, so looking at The Crow. I made this video actually instead of just typing a giant thing up online because I thought it would just be more fun, and since a million other people are doing it, I figured why not do it too. Who knows if anyone's even going to watch this. But anyways, my thoughts are like, okay, I don't like the way it looks for sure, as far as the way they make Eric look. I don't like the idea of using Eric and Shelley, but I am not the target audience. At the end of the day, I'm not who they're expecting to go see this movie in the theater. They're expecting 19-year-olds to go. They're expecting 16-year-olds to go. They're expecting 25-year-olds to go. They're expecting people that's who this movie's aimed at. It's not aimed at me. If they were going to aim it at me, they wouldn't be doing the Eric story. They'd be adapting one of these comics, you know? So I was shitting on this constantly, shitting on the look of it, shitting on everything. And I decided I'm going to take a step back from it. Instead of being negative, I'm going to look at the positive. Here's the positives. One, we're getting a new Crow movie for the first time in theaters since 1996, legitimately. We're getting a new Crow movie for the first time since 2005, I think, period. We're getting one with a budget for the first time since 1996 as well. And we're getting one that it looks like the filmmakers put a lot into it. You know, whether it was financially they want to make sure they had a hit, or it looks like they put some care into it, which is good. It doesn't feel like a cash grab when I look at the trailer. I'll give them that. Another positive is, if this movie does well, maybe we'll get things like other interesting and unique Crow stories. You know, maybe they will go back and say, hey man, you know, it'd be cool, like a TV show on like Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever, you know, of The Crow, where they do an anthology and they go back and they tell some new original, or maybe they make more movies like that. And the coolest part is a bunch of kids who are 19 years old right now, 18, 17, 12, are going to go find this. And to me, that's, if the movie does well, that is. And to me, that's really cool. They're going to go find this, they're going to read this and go, wow, that is so different. But I love it so much because this is probably my all-time favorite graphic novel. Um, and maybe if they weren't using the term reboot or remake, maybe if they were just saying a new adaptation of the book with a new take on it, which I know they've said things like that. So let's check it out. I'm not going to say I'm going to run opening night to the theater to see it, but it's going to get my money at least for one viewing. Because if the fans like me don't embrace the younger fans, there's no future. There's no future in it. So like, I want more. For sure. I want people to read this book. I'm not a gatekeeper. I want people to know about this, I want people to see it and go, wow, that's cool, and I hope, and I just hope that, the movie they made doesn't suck. Because I've seen other movie trailers and I'm like, oh, that movie looks like garbage. Then I've seen the movie and been like, damn, I was wrong. And I really hope that, other than the action scenes, I hope that the rest of the movie, because that looked cool. I do hope I'm wrong. I hope the movie is cool. I want it to be cool. I want it to be good because I want more cool movies with the Crow character, or that concept of the character. That revenge theme, that justice theme. There's something about that when it's not just revenge because somebody pissed you off, but because somebody took things from you, inappropriately took things from you. I could be more eloquent about this whole thing if I wanted to, or if I took the time to write something down, but I didn't even make notes. And I just, yeah, so, I thought a lot of people asked me what my thoughts were, and instead of like writing 30 responses to their questions and emails or like texts or Facebook posts, just gonna make this video and put it out there. And who knows if anyone's even gonna watch it? I might not even watch it. But that's the thing. Like, that's where I'm going with it. Is I love The Crow, and even if this new movie does suck, or even if you never want to see this new movie, the old one's still there. The 1994 film will never be taken away from you, especially if you own a physical copy. Keep physical media alive. There's a new Blu-ray coming out. Buy it. Just keep that going. Like, you'll always own your copy, so they can't take that away from you and make you watch the new one. But I'm gonna give it a shot. I do think the look is bad for the Eric character, but like, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm talking myself into it. I'm gonna give the movie a shot. It'll never top the book. I doubt it'll be as good as the original film. Just, because it looks like they've strayed too far away from the original book. So like, even like if you watch a Tom Sawyer movie that strays too far away from the characters of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, you lose what makes it pure. But again, I hope it's good. They got a great cast overall. Like, I'm curious. I'm interested, and I want to see more. Like, you like a certain character or a certain series of films, you're gonna go. I'm a huge Muppet fan, obviously. I've seen every Muppet movie in the theater, and they're all varying levels of entertaining, of good, of great. And I'm gonna go see this. I might not go. Like I said, I probably won't go opening night, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go check out The Crow. The Crow 2024. And hopefully I'm gonna go in with as open of a mind as I can go in. But again, they'll never take the old one away from you. So if you're really upset about it, let it go. It's not for us anyways. It's not for me as a 49-year-old man. It's for that 19-year-old who's going through something right now. It's for that 25-year-old who's studying film and loves action scenes. It's for people who just sit, eat some popcorn, and have some escapism for a couple hours. And that's important. Movies are important for that. It's important to take us out of our day-to-day life and be entertained. So I hope this movie's entertaining, if nothing else. And I guess that's pretty much it. Again, they'll never take the old one away from you. We're not the target audience if you're my age. So let's not shit on it so bad that the target audience doesn't even want to go. And yeah, after I see the movie, if I have opinions, maybe I'll share them. Maybe I won't. But I do hope it's good. And I think that's all I really have to say about it right now. Except, like, I know what I'm doing in May, next month, or 2 months from now. I will be watching the original film on a brand new Blu-ray that's coming out for the 30th anniversary. Just gonna chill and watch that, um, and that'll be good, regardless of what the new movie is. I know I'll always have that, and it'll always be there for me to watch. So that's that. That's what I have to say, I guess, about the new Crow movie. I babbled enough, and I hope you have a good night.